Hello, everyone. Your phone rings at 8:14 in the morning. Hey, this is Detective Miller with the County Sheriff's Office. We just need to clear something up real quick. You weren't expecting the call. Your heart jumps immediately. The detective sounds calm, friendly even. We're looking into an incident from last night. Your name came up. Nothing major, you're not in trouble. We just need your side of the story. Now, most people make the same mistake right here. They start talking. They explain. They deny. They fill silence. They try to sound cooperative. And within 5 minutes, they've handed the police exactly what they needed. So what do? Can you hang up? Should you answer questions? What if they say you're not a suspect? Because here's the part nobody tells people until it's too late. Police do not call you because they already know everything. They call because they want information. And sometimes the fastest way to build a case is to let you build it for them with your own words. One sentence can lock you into a timeline. One contradiction can become evidence. One attempt to sound innocent can suddenly sound defensive. That's why smart criminal defense lawyers tell clients something simple. Never talk to police on the phone until you know exactly why they're calling and whether you need a lawyer. In this video, you're going to learn what officers are actually trying to accomplish during these calls, the biggest mistakes people make, the exact phrases you can use to protect yourself, and how to stay calm without sounding hostile. One piece of knowledge can change how a situation ends for you. Subscribe now so you're prepared. Then share this video and tell me what you think about it in the comments. Because the goal is not to beat the police on the phone. The goal is to avoid accidentally hurting yourself before you even understand the situation. First, understand this. Phone calls feel casual. That is the trap. A station interview feels serious. You expect caution, but a phone conversation feels informal, human, low pressure. That changes how people behave. They talk freely. They speculate. They guess. They try to explain details they barely remember. And detectives know this. A lot of investigations start with a friendly phone call because people reveal far more voluntarily than they would in an interrogation room. Listen to how these conversations often begin. Hey, you're not under arrest. We just want to hear your side. This will go away faster if you cooperate. We already know what happened. Help us understand your involvement. Those phrases matter, not because they're illegal, but because they encourage you to lower your guard. Here's the mistake people make. They think silence makes them look guilty. Legally, that is not how rights work. You have the right to avoid answering questions, and in many situations, a lawyer would strongly prefer you say nothing until you understand the risk involved. Especially because you usually do not know what evidence exists, who spoke to police already, whether the call is recorded, or whether you're considered a witness, a suspect, or something in between. So the first rule is simple. Do not start explaining things just because the officer sounds polite. Polite conversations still create evidence. Now let's talk about the second major mistake, trying to clear things up. This destroys people. An officer says, "Help me understand why your phone was near that location." Now you panic internally and start talking fast. Well, I drove by there earlier, but not late, and maybe my friend had my phone at one point, and honestly, I don't remember exactly. Stop right there. You just created multiple statements investigators can compare later. And here's what people don't realize. Human memory is imperfect, especially under stress. If your story changes later because you remembered something differently, investigators may treat that inconsistency as suspicious, even if you were telling the truth both times. That's why guessing is dangerous. Trying to fill silence is dangerous. Talking when nervous is dangerous. Instead, slow the entire conversation down. A calm response sounds more like this: "I'm not comfortable answering questions over the phone." That sentence matters because it is respectful, clear, and non-confrontational. You are not arguing. You are not resisting. You are not insulting the officer. You are simply refusing to participate in questioning without more information. If the officer keeps pushing, use this: "I would like to speak to a lawyer before answering any questions." That is one of the safest things you can say in a police contact situation. And notice the wording. You are not debating facts. You are not trying to sound innocent. You are invoking legal protection. That changes the dynamic immediately. Now, some viewers are probably thinking, but won't asking for a lawyer make me look guilty? No. People ask for lawyers for many reasons, including confusion, fear, complexity, or simple caution. More importantly, trying to sound innocent is exactly what causes many people to accidentally damage their own cases. Remember this: the police investigation is not a social conversation. It is an evidence-gathering process. The third trap is believing officers must tell you exactly what's happening. They often do not. A detective may say, "We just have a few questions." That could mean almost anything. You might be a witness, you might be connected indirectly, you might already be the focus of the investigation. And suddenly you are giving investigators timestamps, relationships, motives, and statements they did not previously have. Sometimes people even volunteer information unrelated to the original question. That is why experienced defense attorneys often say, the less, and suddenly you are giving investigators timestamps, relationships, motives, and statements they did not previously have. Sometimes people even volunteer information unrelated to the original question. That is why experienced defense attorneys often say, the less you know about the investigation, the more dangerous it is to speak casually. So what should you say instead? Keep it simple. Can you have my attorney contact you? That works because it redirects communication through legal counsel instead of emotional reaction. And if you do not yet have a lawyer, you can still say, I'm not answering questions without legal advice. Again, calm, respectful, clear. No speeches, no explanations, no sarcasm. Now let's talk about a huge mistake that destroys credibility instantly: lying. Some people know they should not talk, but once the conversation starts, they panic and begin minimizing things or making false statements. That can become a separate crime in certain situations, depending on the jurisdiction and circumstances. Even outside criminal exposure, false statements can seriously damage your credibility later. This is why silence is usually safer than improvisation. If you are not prepared to answer accurately, do not answer at all. And avoid partial cooperation traps. This happens constantly. People refuse some questions but answer others because they think selective talking looks cooperative. Example: I won't talk about last night, but I can tell you I would never hurt anybody. Sounds harmless, but now investigators have statements they can analyze, compare, and potentially use later. The safest approach is consistency. Either you are answering questions with legal guidance or you are not answering questions. Halfway cooperation creates risk. Now, another important warning: do not confuse being calm with being passive. You should absolutely stay polite during police contact. But politeness does not require surrendering your rights. You can respectfully decline questioning. You can end a voluntary conversation. You can ask for legal counsel. Here's a strong example of calm, controlled language. Officer, I respect what you're doing, but I'm not comfortable answering questions without a lawyer. That wording helps because it removes hostility from the interaction. You are not escalating. You are not challenging authority. You are establishing a boundary. And that matters because emotional behavior causes people to make terrible decisions. Once people become angry or scared, they start over-explaining, arguing facts, trying to prove innocence, or talking nonstop to regain control. That usually backfires, especially on the phone, where investigators may simply let silence pressure you into continuing. One more thing people forget: many calls are recorded. Never assume a conversation is off the record. Never assume friendliness equals confidentiality. And never assume a detective is calling just to help you. Investigators are trained to gather information. That is their job. Your job is protecting yourself legally. Now, to be clear, laws vary by state and situation.
Different jurisdictions handle recording laws, detention rules, and questioning procedures differently. Certain circumstances may legally require identifying information, and there are situations where remaining silent must be done clearly and properly. This video is educational, not personal legal advice. If you believe you are involved in a criminal investigation, speaking directly with a qualified attorney in your jurisdiction is the safest move. But the general framework remains extremely important. If police call unexpectedly, do not panic. Do not rush to explain. Do not guess. Do not lie. Do not try to win the conversation emotionally. Slow everything down. Ask yourself, why are they calling? What do they actually know? Do I need legal counsel before speaking? And if necessary, use calm, direct phrases like, I'm not comfortable answering questions over the phone. I would like to speak to a lawyer first. I'm not answering questions without legal advice. Short, clear, controlled. Because the people who protect themselves best during police encounters are usually not the loudest people. They're the calmest people. They understand that silence is not weakness, caution is not guilt, and cooperation does not mean volunteering unlimited information. Stay calm. Comply with lawful instructions. Do not consent to questioning you do not understand. Do not argue. Do not overshare. Request a lawyer when needed.